I woke up one morning after a terrifying dream to the sound of cicadas, a sound I hadn't heard since 10 years ago, like small but powerful electric razors that drone on for several-minute phrases, punctuated by rattles and whispers. I noticed I had a particularly painful headache. And when I went to rub my eyes, I touched something that was not my face. Strange horns or antlers were protruding from all angles of my head. They felt as if they were a part of my head, like a nose or an extra chin, but were shaped in twisted, abstract formations, deformations. My first thought, aside from how painful this headache was how I would put my shirt on over my head. I needed to go to the store to get headache medicine, but I'd have to go shirtless. Surely people would stare. Then I thought I'd just go back to sleep and wake up again from this terrifying dream that I was still dreaming. But laying down proved more difficult than before with these new protrusions from my head. The sound of cicadas was still there faintly, and I couldn't tell if it was just echoes from my dream or if there were really cicadas outside, which would be unusual for this time of year. I decided to walk to the store. When I got to the store, I caught a glimpse of myself in the security camera. However, it wasn't a recording of me in the store. Instead, it seemed to be playing out the dream that I had before waking up like this. At the checkout counter was a young woman. I waited in line and thought about how this would be my first interaction with another person today. I should just act normally. I did, and so did she, even though I could tell she was screaming inside. I headed back home. That was about 2 months ago. I've gotten around the daily obstacles of interacting with people and work. I ordered delivery and told my job that I was in a terrible accident and needed to work from home while I recover. I found a particular angle from my head which allows me to sleep somewhat comfortably if I lodge a pillow in the empty space beneath my neck. But the sounds are still here, and more it sounds like a language. Something speaking to me that I don't understand. It makes my head hurt. I wish it would stop. Cicadas are remarkable creatures that lie dormant for years, biding their time until the perfect moment arrives. Born from eggs nestled securely in the crevices of tree bark, the cicada begins its life as a nymph, burrowing deep into the earth. There, it spends years feeding on the sap of tree roots, silently growing and molting, shedding its exoskeleton several times in a process known as instar. Patiently, it waits, often for a span of 13 or 17 years, until the warmth of the soil signals the time for its emergence. When the soil temperature reaches a certain threshold, typically in spring, the nymphs tunnel up to the surface en masse, sometimes numbering in the millions per acre. They climb up trees or any nearby surface and shed their final nymphal skin, emerging as winged adults. Hi everyone, and thank you for watching. I'm here with our monster to do a little post-show talkback so that we can give you all some context on what you just saw and on the Manifesting Monsters project in a broader sense. Monster, thank you so much for joining us. What a great performance, and we're so lucky to have you.
Thank you, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
So let's start by talking first about what the audience just saw. This piece in particular is a small part of the overall Manifesting Monsters project, which we'll get to later. But let's talk about your role in the show.
Sure. So in this show, I play a giant magical cicada who has the power to deform or reshape reality. That's why you saw all those strange shapes like the tree and the shapes that were deforming the head of our main character. My mission is to reshape reality.
And how do you reshape reality?
Through my sound. That's why we kept hearing my call throughout the whole show. I was calling our main character because I knew that he wanted me to reshape him, even though he may not have known that himself.
So what happened when he encountered you then? Did he die?
Well, I think that's more up to the audience. It could be interpreted in several ways. I think what happened was that I called him and he came and I consumed him. And when I did, that triggered the final transformation in my life cycle as a cicada, where I shed my skin and grow wings. So I do feel like I needed him, much like cicadas need nutrients from trees and plants while they're underground.
Okay, but how does that connect with reshaping reality?
Well, I reshaped my own reality by completely transforming myself. His reality changed from being a normal human to something more extraordinary. He found a sense of belonging inside of me, which represents the classic Eden, a place of profound beauty. But it was more beautiful to him now because he looked like all of the strange leaves and flowers there. He felt like they reflected his new deformed identity, so he was at peace and surrendered up his light source, which was animating him the whole time.
I think this is actually a good segue into talking about the Manifesting Monsters project in a bigger sense. Starting with the shapes. So the shapes that deformed the main character, the strange shapes of the plants and the trees, and how you use them to deform reality, there's something significant about these shapes. Actually, I have some here.
Yes, they are sort of like ink blots. You know, the Rorschach test where they ask you to name what you see and it's a blob of ink and you say, a bat or my mother's face or something like that.
Yes, exactly. So I want to share how these shapes came into existence. I mean, you know this already because, you know, you've done the show, but I want to give more context to our audience because I think it's a really exciting process. So these shapes are actually generated from your voice. Imagine if you could speak and you could hold your sound, right? Like it was something physical. That's what I wanted to get to with these shapes. So we're using technology to act as sort of like a translator. And what it's doing is generating abstract shapes based on the frequency and amplitude and the rhythms of your voice. It's like speech visualization, but kind of like speech physicalization. You know, people have been interested in speech visualization for several years, so this is sort of like building off of the shoulders of those people. It's abstracted speech, but it's embodied because it's manifested into puppet objects.
Yes, it's really interesting because your words do have power and weight, and they do shape your reality and the realities of those around you as if they were something physical.
Exactly. I think it's helpful to show the short clip to the audience so that they can see exactly what I mean by how these shapes are made. So as you saw, I took the shapes, which I like to call speech monsters, and I printed them out and sort of rearranged them to make shadow puppets. It's kind of like I'm puppeteering my own voice, which is wild.
Yes, I like that because you could say something like, I love you. And that would generate some shapes. And then you play with those shapes and you're playing with I love you. And what do you do with that? Do you fly away with it? Do you murder someone with it? Is it scary? Suddenly, I love you takes on different forms and meanings.
Yeah, you could speak a secret or whisper a confession or sing a song or a scream, and then you can play with that scream as if it was a physical object. You could throw it or tear it or eat it or give it to someone.
And they might not know what it is. And maybe they'll think it's a bunny or something.
Which is exactly what happens when you speak. I mean, when we speak words, they come from our brain and down to our bodies, and then we take in air and we release it back into the world with vibration, and then it scatters and it goes into the ears of the listener or to nowhere. When our words leave our mouths, we have no control over them anymore. They're susceptible to misinterpretation, reinterpretation, and deformation.
And they have power, a sort of magical power, because they form structures of language, which leads to knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge, stories, histories, realities.
What even is reality?
Oh, we won't go there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So thanks everybody for watching. Please follow the Manifesting Monsters project. My goal is to have a system where anyone can use this generative template and make shapes and use them for whatever they want in their practice. You can use them, as shadow puppets. You can use them as maps. They could be patterns for sewing. The idea is to speak something into existence, to manifest something into reality. In a larger sense, to practice manifesting the reality and the identity that you want to see for yourself.